Welcome to another episode of the Reboot Chronicles, a no-holds-barred forum with global leaders, authors, entrepreneurs, and CEOs about how organizations stay focused on growth and innovation in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean Tobias, coming to you live from Reviv's North American headquarters in Chicago, and we would like to thank you for joining us from around the globe today. I'd like to welcome Michele Lau to the Reboot Chronicles. She is the Chief Legal Officer of GoDaddy, the world's largest services platform for entrepreneurs, serving 21 million small business customers and hosting over 84 million domains, including the Reboot Chronicles. Woohoo! With over 9,000 employees who are estimated to deliver approximately $4 billion in revenue, this behind-the-scenes web enablement company makes most of the websites that you visit operate very smoothly. Michele, it's so good to see you.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure everyone knows, but most people think of GoDaddy like, hey, I need to go get a domain name, and they do that, and maybe they leave. I don't know, but you guys are been doing that since the early days of Web 1.0 when I was starting to build internet companies. Can you maybe just start out telling us what the company has turned into today? For instance, I made a little faux pas there. I said $1 billion, and you're actually up to almost $4 billion now. So it's amazing how big it's become. But I'm not sure all of our audience knows what you're up to these days.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And it's certainly been an incredible journey. You're absolutely right. Our roots are in domains. And we have grown over time. GoDaddy today is about empowering everyday entrepreneurs around the world by providing practical guidance and tools to succeed online and in person. People can come here to name their idea, build a professional website, attract customers, sell their products and services, and manage their work. We really want to provide those intuitive, seamless solutions and be a one-stop shop to our customers.
And a lot of those tools you've picked up through acquisition, and some of them you built yourself. As we talk about at Kellogg, the build, buy, borrow scenarios. You do this through partnering, through acquiring things like WordPress and other properties. And is it mostly small businesses and entrepreneurial? I mean, for many of the startups that Reboot Partners has got going over the years, we always go to you first, grab the URL, get everything set up. But do you have larger size companies as well that rely on you guys?
Sure, there are some. I mean, certainly our focus has been on entrepreneurs and following them along their journey. So, of course, we are passionate about helping them grow and succeed. And thank you so much for being a customer.
I try. So now let's switch to legal. Most people are wondering, why are we talking legal? And one of the things I've noticed, especially as a deal guy, doing dozens of agreements, I almost said a week, but I'll say easily a month, and large partnership deals, stuff like that, is they always think of, my folks anyway, as legal as this necessary evil that they need to bring in at the end. And you've been rebooting that notion, even at McKesson before, and now kind of rebooted the way that legal should have a seat at the table. And for someone who's constantly working on deals, I get that. But how do you kind of help leaders understand, how and why, legal should have a seat at the table early on as a more strategic weapon, so to speak?
So I love the necessary evil. It is definitely something that is, that's okay. Something that we definitely are trying to.
There's other functions, the CFO too, the VP of No. There's all kinds of people that they don't bring in until later.
There you go. I obviously have a lot of passion and a very strong perspective on this. We can help bring context, think about multiple stakeholder groups, think about implications across the company and externally if we are brought in earlier. In terms of how we can help get a seat at that table earlier, most importantly, it is by demonstrating how we can be creative problem solvers while also protecting the company. I had a senior leader recently tell me how much she appreciated that her legal partner always strives to understand the business goals first and then partners with her, asks a lot of questions, coming from a place of partnership and cooperation to find creative solutions. And that kind of partnership is exactly what we want and what gets us a seat at that table. That, and also, frankly, not being shy about asking. People have different reactions. So you're absolutely right. There are some people who say, "Do I really want a lawyer in the room? I'm not sure. Maybe we can wait until later." But I think we have the proof points over time, right? When we can show that we can add value earlier on, and of course, it is incumbent on us to make sure that we do understand the priorities of the business, the focus areas, and the goals.
Yeah, and that's the key for you business folks sitting in our audience, also as lots of entrepreneurs, is I'll just say two things. First of all, it's like it depends on which lawyer you're bringing into the room. There are some that are a little bit more irritating that I probably wouldn't bring into the room too early. I would definitely bring you into the room.
Thank
And
you.
what I've noticed is, well, you just have a business mind, obviously, and in a governance, you understand how things work. But some of the best uh, legal advisors, I'll just call them that rather than lawyers, that I've brought in on deals, literally understand the business and the business model, and through that process have actually helped us craft better deals that are more lucrative, saved us millions of dollars, or together with the partner, we've made more money or made it easier for the end customers to do business with us. In other words, it changes the complexion of, hey, I know you guys were thinking about this, but here's an alternative. Do you see that as a trend in the deal side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the goal. I remember very early in my career, and I think this is part of how the role of CLOs have changed over time. But I remember very early in my career, a peer telling me, I started as a mergers and acquisitions lawyer, and a peer told me,
No
"Oh, it's
wonder.
a great skill set to have. It doesn't matter what you're buying or selling.
Hmm.
You could be selling widgets. It's always the same." And I realized over time that's exactly
This is
wrong.
so wrong, right?
Right? It's so wrong, right? It's so wrong. I mean, really
Who
understanding
uses
the
the word
landscape.
widgets anymore? Gosh,
Yeah,
it's so
exactly.
80s. It's B school.
Exactly. Well, I've been doing this a long time, so maybe maybe
No, I
my
wasn't
choice
making
of
fun
term
of you.
widget,
It's just the person who you were quoting.
right?
Sorry.
So that context setting is really critical, and in some ways, in like functions and roles like
Yeah.
mine, we really have the privilege of having an enterprise-wide view. And so with that comes, I think, responsibility. I mean, part of what we do is being strategic connectors to help make sure the right people are involved and to help drive outcomes for the company.
Exactly. And this touches on every role in the company. I mean, what
Mhm.
we're going into 2023, 24 here. So what the last few years taught a lot of corporate public CEOs is they delayered themselves. They didn't have a lot of secretaries around because physically they weren't around, and they got closer to the business. And what I've seen, CMO, CFO, CLO, LMNOP, just fill in the blanks, right? Chief Product Officer, all of them. Everyone's role has changed to be more dynamic, more business oriented, more understanding of, hey, you're not just in your swim lane anymore. You
Yep.
don't have to interfere with each other, but it's like you need to treat multi-billion-dollar businesses more entrepreneurially, more holistically, and maybe that's one little benefit that came out of a lot of the remote working.
Yep. I couldn't agree more.
The other thing I was going to say or ask really is so I run this program called Dancing with Startups, and it brings some of the largest companies on the planet, like you, together with startups to accelerate growth. And when we're getting to the deal table, and there's usually a couple of legal folks, I tell them just the opposite. I'm like, whatever deal you think you're trying to milk out of this poor startup, flip the script, give them more than they want, more equity, more this, more that, because you need to engage them and actually make this a more productive relationship. And it's so foreign to them. My guess is you guys are probably a little bit better at that than others, but it still seems like a skill set that needs to be de-learned. I'm coming to the table to negotiate the best deal I can for my client. Just I think is another 80s phenomena.
I think that's right.
We're gonna make fun of
I
the
think that's
80s on
right.
this episode. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and that still lives in courtroom dramas today
Yes.
for those following on TV. But
Yeah.
I think you're right, and it's something that we talk a lot about with my team. Is how do we drive more value through deeper integration with the business, and we do that, in part by educating ourselves, of course, about the priorities of the business and understanding the dynamics both internally and externally. But it's also about really working shoulder to shoulder. So structurally, one of the things that I did when I started was to, well, first I went on a listening tour. I met with every person in the department. We were about 90 people around the globe, and we handle law, compliance, internal audit, corporate sustainability and ESG, and government and industry affairs. So it's not just law and
And
compliance.
governance too, right? Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah, right. That's right, in public company
Yeah, let's
governance.
jump into that later. Yep.
And I met with all 90 plus people on the team, and then our key partners across the company at all levels
Wow.
to really ask, like, what are the priorities, what are the emerging risks, and what are the opportunities. And one of the things that came out of that very much was that we had an opportunity to drive more value for the company and for our customers and for our shareholders by being more deeply integrated. So for the law group, that meant putting a lawyer in the room, working shoulder to shoulder with each business unit and functional leadership team. So your comment
Hmm.
about kind of unlearning that I'm going to be the fiercest advocate and really just focus on law and compliance is absolutely right. It's a journey, and in some ways, it's a journey with no destination point. We'll continue to work on that, I think.
Yeah, and mine was more about your core customers are pretty much startups, entrepreneurs, small businesses that could be, in business for, family companies that have been around for years, but they still have this very different capability or deficiency to like negotiate big deals with large companies. And I just think the large companies, it just seems to me it's something that is being it's being improved, but from a deal perspective, it's still something that needs to it's like, hey, are you trying to do an agreement, or are you actually trying to do a partnership with someone? And I think
Right.
that often gets lost on the table.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's right. And we are committed to, partnering with our entrepreneurs, helping them, meeting them where they are. And that passion for helping our customers succeed, it's really special. We have the opportunity to help people achieve their dreams. And that's a great honor and a great responsibility.
It's I often invent new products on this show. So is you
Okay,
guys
great.
offer all these other services for companies that I don't use them all, but it's like it is fascinating to see your platform because you can do soup to nuts and get them going fast. Um, I don't think legal is one of them, but
That's
there's a
right.
lot
Yeah.
of internet legal shops that some are actually very good. So your whole area could be a product roadmap someday, but we don't have to go into that. But you can just
Yeah.
take that back to your team.
Yeah, and if you ever want to learn more about all of our entire suite of products or services, happy to talk anytime.
Yeah, we should. So you mentioned corporate governance, and sometimes that's a very boring topic. These days, it's probably one of the hottest. I think you're a member of the
Right.
National Association of Corporate Directors, like I am. And
Yep.
what kind of trends are you seeing in governance these days, and how's it impacting the business?
So certainly, so love NACD. Certainly, some hot topics continue around things like board diversity, board composition, oversight of risk. I have a friend who's on a public company board who recently said, she actually thinks ESG should be GES because for her the foundation is having good governance. So that new SEC rules, of course, around things like universal proxy and pay for performance are all things that are hot topics in the governance world, and people like me who focus on those are we're working away on. But I think that the E and the S is something that is equally important for companies and areas that GoDaddy has had kind of very deep commitment on for many many years. ESG is such an interesting evolving area, and I'm sometimes asked, "Gosh, why does it make sense to be part of a CLO organization?" And of course, you have the obvious synergies with those G topics, coupled with the increasing regulation and reporting obligations on ESG topics. But I think also because CLOs today really need to have a view across companies and to think more broadly, not just about legal and compliance implications, but also reputational, financial, strategic, and operational, and to think about those different stakeholder expectations. ESG is a really nice fit for us.
And what's your hot button in ESG? I mean, every industry's got a different thing in the environment, and many of them are carbon neutral, but they're tech companies. Google said they've been doing it since 2007, but they don't have a lot of trucks running around, so it's easy for
Right,
some companies to say that. It's tough for others. And
right.
On top of that, also, what do you think of B Corps?
Oh, okay. Well,
Or
I mean, B Corps,
certified,
I think,
yeah.
so yeah, certified B Corps, right? Wonderful organizations certainly have a place. I think that all companies are on a journey and probably at different parts of their journey on on
Yeah,
ESG.
yeah. Some of them can't
You know,
get the carbon neutral till the 30s or 40s, even
right,
50s. I think
right,
United Airlines is way out there, but at least they're being honest about
right.
it. Yeah.
Right. And well, exactly. And I think what that speaks to is just how, the nature of the business, of course, should drive the priorities.
Mm.
ESG, while kind of relatively new as a term, the concepts I think have been around for a long time. And I feel very fortunate to be at a company where there has been commitment around the E, the S, and the G long before that term was well known. So, as an example, I mean, certainly on the S, social impact is embedded in the DNA of our company. It is part of the mission. I mean, we empower entrepreneurs everywhere, making opportunity more inclusive for all. So we've had programs, for example, our Empowered by GoDaddy program, which we started in
Yeah, I
2017.
saw that. Tell us about that. You
Sure, I'd
started that
love
in
to.
17. Oh, I didn't know that. That's good.
Yes, yeah, 2017. We just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. Very proud of that.
Nice.
And we started that to equip entrepreneurs in underserved communities with training, resources, and tools
Hmm.
to help start and grow their ventures. And we do that through partnerships with diverse local partners. So we're really reaching communities on the ground.
Smart.
And our aim is to make these resources available to communities that maybe otherwise wouldn't have access.
Yeah, I like that. In Chicago, I'm one of the many co-founders of 1871. It's one of the largest incubators in the world in the merchandise mart. And
Oh, I love
so
that.
we have diverse initiatives for all types of entrepreneurs. But now the next gen of it is actually going into the neighborhoods. It's a very neighborhood designed city, as you know. And actually, you guys would be a
Great.
great
Yeah.
partner for that.
We should talk.
Yeah. And I think it's smart. It's like, don't do it yourself. You've already got these organizations that are on the ground. And this one happens to be a
Right.
501c3, so it's perfect for you guys. It's not, some money making accelerator like some of them are. But so you feel like you're making an impact because I see a lot of these initiatives, and some of them we won't name names today, though I often do. It's some of them are window dressing, and some of them are, it looks good, it sounds good, but others are actually making an impact. They can feel it, and they, in your case, they're actually becoming customers, which is good. Like for instance, Comcast, they're doing this similar stuff where they actually become customers because they need a pipe into their office, and they help them get
Right.
going. And is that just in this country where you're doing that?
No, so we do have a global program through Empower by GoDaddy, which is really incredible. And it's something you asked about if we feel like we're making an
Yeah,
impact,
yeah.
and
Sorry.
I would say absolutely in our communities. I mean, we have incredible stories that we hear from the entrepreneurs, and one of the things that I also really love, and I'd love to tell you a little bit about our Made for America series, but um, one of the things that I really love about Empowered by GoDaddy
Hmm.
is that it is so closely tied to our mission and our business strategy. And it's also something that feels like a true, like whole company effort.
Yeah.
So at some other places, there's a specific team that does really wonderful work, but they do most of the work
Exactly.
themselves.
It's not connected back to the mothership or the core. Oh, that's a great
Right,
point.
right.
Huh.
But
Yeah.
here, I mean, the people who are going out and training the entrepreneurs in underserved communities through Empowered by GoDaddy are our employees, or they're employees who are so passionate about the mission that they are spending their time helping in that program in addition to their day jobs. And then we also have a rotational program where an employee can take 12 weeks out of their day-to-day job and go work directly with an Empower partner, with one of those local
I love that.
nonprofits to serve underserved entrepreneurs. So it truly is very deeply integrated into who we are as a company and what our mission
I
is.
love that. We had that at Salesforce, and Google has it too, where you can take the time off, but it's not so much integrated into. It was more like pick your
Right.
charity versus stick with our platform. So that is more impactful. You get a lot of employees taking you up on that with 9,000 of them. I assume you do.
Yeah, so it's a relatively new program. We just launched it this year, so it's in
Smart.
its
Nice.
infancy, but great, really great reaction. And we are just wrapping up the first pilot class, and we'll start to hear their stories and how it impacted not just the communities that they served and the customers that they served, but also with their own professional development.
Yeah, of course, which works both ways. I was going to ask you about mentoring and coaching. Are they doing any of that for the entrepreneurs, or is it more implementing and using the tools and things that they know, your wheelhouse?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, mentoring and coaching is a critical part of many of these Empowered by GoDaddy programs. I mean, they will vary a little bit based on who the local nonprofit is, because of course, to your point, partnering with local nonprofits is critical because they can help educate us on what the specific needs are in that community. But mentoring and coaching is a critical part of it. And personally, I'm of the view that anyone, no matter what their career is or what part of their journey they're in, they can use a mentor. So
big time. We just had a whole mentoring episode that is airing this week.
Well, I look forward to hearing that. Mentoring is another topic that is very
it's huge. I titled the title of that one. Actually, just launched it. MASS instead of SaaS. It's Mass, Mentoring as a Service. I just made it up. It's not really what it is.
I love that.
It's an author that's writing a 10-series book on mentoring. It's so important, and it's missing. And that's why these incubators and accelerators, the ones that are really there for the community, I think are so impactful. Just on GoDaddy's product roadmap and where you're going and what you're building, partnering versus building. And do you guys have any involvement with incubators and accelerators, or do you have your own innovation lab, or what's going on there?
So certainly kind of innovation and experimentation is a core tenet of who we are at GoDaddy. We talk a lot about how, we need to experiment and do it quickly in order to test things out and make our products and services better and to better serve our customers. So, another thing that we talk a lot about is the spirit of continual learning and continual improvement. So, innovation very much is at the core of who we are, and we have, teams across the company who are actively working on it.
So do they have any startup engagement stuff going on, or is it just more ad hoc? Like some companies have their own little accelerators set up, things like that.
Right. I mean, I think we spend a lot of time to really listen to our customers, and so we have different.
You're very agile developers. You know how to crank it.
That's right.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the best feedback. There was something I read about Microdata Business Hub that was announced recently. What's that all about?
Oh, sure. Venture Forward by GoDaddy. Yeah, so that's our multi-year research initiative to quantify the impact that small businesses have on the economy. And so that hub is to really provide the data to policymakers and other stakeholders to show the impact that entrepreneurs have.
So the micro business is data about your actual customers by segment and sector. So it's a data play. Yeah. So is that like a product, or is it just another just helpful thing, or is this a real?
Yeah. So it's a resource that we make available, and we spend time with policymakers to help them think about the impact of small businesses in their community. So those regular reports that we have through Venture Forward are all publicly available. There, you can find them on the Venture Forward section of our website, and I think it speaks a little bit to the ethos of the company. We are committed to not just continuing to learn ourselves, but also to share progress and learnings. It's also why we have a sustainability and ESG report. It's a way for us to kind of share with others, because a lot of times to make progress, there's no one company can do it alone. We really have to all work together.
And what can you teach other companies in your class, multi-billion-dollar public companies, about what you guys have done on the ESG side? Any quick tips, like top 3 things they should be maybe taking from you? You're taking the lead from. I'm a big believer in learning from each other, not just replicating a program, but this worked, this didn't work. Do this, don't do that.
Right. Yeah, me too. I love kind of talking with others, because we can certainly learn from each other. There's no reason to recreate the wheel.
No, they just hopefully they're listening. That's all. It's sometimes they don't, or there's no transference. It's a different industry, but yeah, exactly.
Right, right. So I think the first, I mean, it's exactly what you just said. I mean, the word listening. So listening to what your stakeholders want and need. And
Yeah.
by stakeholders, I mean, you know, customers, employees, shareholders, regulators, communities. I mean, really, we think about stakeholders very broadly. So really listening to what they need, determining what's important for your business. I think there was a time, many years ago where people talked about corporate social responsibility. And for a lot of companies, it was either about writing checks, which is important. I mean, that is absolutely, it's very generous and that has an impact as
Yeah.
well. But a lot of times it was a kind of collection of good things that people were doing without a clear strategy. And I think if you first listen to your stakeholders about what they need and want, think about what your unique strengths are as a company and marry those two with your strategy, that's where you can really have the greatest impact. And that's something that we are so proud of here at GoDaddy.
Yeah, and you're concentrated in one part of the country too, makes it easy to do geographic stuff as well, versus some other multinationals where they're just everywhere. Not
Yeah.
that you're
Well, we
only
do.
there,
I mean,
but I always find that makes it easier. So a lot of the Chicago-based companies, their civic giving is huge, and then sometimes it ripples out to some of their subs. But yeah,
right.
it I don't know. It just seems to me it helps to focus impact instead of spreading out the gifts all over, because in some cases they are gifts or donations or in your case,
Right.
donating employees' time. Brilliant.
Right. Employees' time. I mean, there are also,
That's a huge asset,
product
by the
information
way.
as
If you
well.
multiply that
Yeah,
out,
thank
did you
you.
say 2 weeks?
In terms of the rotational program, the rotational program is 12 weeks.
Times 9,000 employees. That's impact.
Well, not all 9,000 employees participate in the program, but
Oh,
it is
come
an
on. Can the
opportunity.
call center
Yeah, it is
people
an
do it?
opportunity.
Can they go out?
Yeah, it's a rotational
Yeah, yeah,
opportunity.
yeah. No, not at the same time. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, not at the same time.
Hello,
And
where'd everyone
it's
go?
new.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is that particular rotational program is new. But in terms of, Empowered by
Yeah.
GoDaddy, which has been around for 5 years. I mean, we have employees who go and they run the workshops, and
Let's talk about the
it's good
tough
for.
stuff. What kind of challenges, you switched industries and all that, but what kind of challenges do you have just in the operating side of things, just personal stuff and, what's it been like, your journey there?
Sure, absolutely. Well, so I was in healthcare for 13 years before I came here, and switching industries has certainly been a very exciting and also very humbling experience. I think it really showed me how much I had to learn, and that's been terrific. And I've been blessed to have really wonderful colleagues who have helped me in my journey to get up to speed. So that, of course, has been something for me personally in the past 18 months. Since I've been here for
Yeah,
about
that's
18
what
months.
coaching and mentoring is so
Um,
important.
yeah,
Sometimes
exactly,
it's just
exactly.
SME stuff, subject matter expert stuff. 'Cause you don't need anything else, really. Yeah.
Right, right, exactly. So that's one area for me certainly. I think if I think more broadly about the macroeconomic environment and COVID, I mean, when I stop to think about the past few years, I mean, it is really remarkable how much the world changed. And so for me, I think a lot about what it means to be a strong leader during these times. I mean, strong leadership, of course, is always important, but I think particularly in times of rapid change, recognizing that I personally view change as opportunity, but for a lot of people, change is really scary. And for a lot of people in the workforce right now, they've never seen a down economy before. So I try to remind myself of that. And I think that in these times, it is more important than ever to communicate as much as possible, to be as transparent as we can be, to bring people along, make sure that we're focused on the right priorities and rallying people, but also, showing a little bit of that vulnerability and being candid and being authentic. One of the things that I have a tradition in my department of starting every all hands with what we call an about me segment. And it's an opportunity for someone to share a little bit about their journeys, both personal and professional. And I went first because, you have to lead by example. And I included in my story is one might argue, embarrassing photos from childhood, including me and running around in a Wonder Woman
Yep.
outfit. And I was amazed at the number of people who responded and said, I loved Wonder Woman too. And so when we can make those connections and shared experiences, I think it really helps build trust, right? And being vulnerable builds trust, which is so important for those difficult conversations to get to commitment and deliver results.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you wear the Wonder Woman outfit for Halloween once in a while?
Yeah, well, fortunately, it doesn't fit anymore.
Well,
This
not
was
that one.
as
Yeah.
a 3-year-old.
No, it's great. It's it's actually a good metaphor too. It's no, they're very lucky to have you there. You're bringing such different perspectives to the tech industry, whereas most tech people switch with tech. I mean, I've been in probably 10 industries. People think I'm crazy, but so I'm really good at relearning industries, but they're all tech related. It's like, haven't gone into mining or something like that. So that's kind of the shift you went through. So that's inspirational. Thank you, Michele. It's been so nice having you on, and look forward to continuing the conversation sometime.
Such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and I'd love to stay in touch.
Absolutely. You've been listening to Michele Lau. She's the CLO of GoDaddy. This is Dean Tobias with the Reboot Chronicles. I want to thank you for joining us today. We will see you soon.